Cumberland Gap, famous in American colonial history for its role as a key passageway through the lower central Appalachians, it was an important part of the Wilderness Road and is now part of the Cumberland Gap National Historical Park. Long used by Native American nations, the Cumberland Gap was brought to the attention of settlers in 1750 by Thomas Walker, a Virginia physician and explorer. The path was used by a team of frontiersmen led by Daniel Boone, making it accessible to pioneers who used it to journey into the western frontiers of Kentucky and Tennessee. The Cumberland Gap is one of many passes in the Appalachian Mountains, but the only one in the continuous Cumberland Mountain ridgeline. It lies within Cumberland Gap National Historic Park and is located on the border of present-day Kentucky and Virginia, approximately a fourth of a mile northeast of the tri-state marker with Tennessee. The V-shaped gap serves as a gateway to the west. The base of the gap is about 300 feet above the valley floor, and even though the north side of the pass was lowered 20 feet during the construction of old U.S. Route 25E, to the south, the ridge rises 600 feet above the pass, while to the north, the pinnacle overlook towers 900 feet above. Because it is centrally located in the United States, the region around Cumberland Gap experiences all 4 seasons. The summers are typically sunny, warm, and humid, with average high temperatures in the mid to upper 80s. In the winter months, January through March, temperatures range in the 30s to 40s and are generally mild with rain and few periods of snow. The nearest cities are Middlesboro, Kentucky, and Harrogate, Tennessee. The passage created by Cumberland Gap was well traveled by Native Americans long before the arrival of European American settlers. The passage through the gap was originally created by herds of woodland buffaloes that traveled across it over thousands of years, drawn by the abundance of salt in the region. The earliest written account of Cumberland Gap dates to the 1670s by Abraham Wood of Virginia. In 1775, Daniel Boone, hired by the Transylvania Company, arrived in the region leading a company of men to widen the path through the gap to make settlement of Kentucky and Tennessee easier. On his arrival, Boone discovered that Martin had already arrived in Powell Valley, where Martin and his men were clearing land for their own settlement, the westernmost settlement in English colonial America at that time. By the 1790s, the trail that Boone and his men built had been widened to accommodate wagon traffic and became known as the Wilderness Road. Several American Civil War engagements occurred in and around the Cumberland Gap and are known as the Battle of the Cumberland Gap. In June 1862, Union Army General George W. Morgan captured the gap for the Union. In September of that year, Confederate States Army forces under Edmund Kirby Smith occupied the gap during General Braxton Bragg's Kentucky invasion. The following year, in a bloodless engagement in September 1863, Union Army troops under General Ambrose Burnside forced the surrender of 2,300 Confederates defending the gap, gaining Union control of the gap for the remainder of the war. It is estimated that between 200,000 and 300,000 European American settlers passed through the gap on their way into the Kentucky and the Ohio Valley before 1810. Today, approximately 18,000 cars pass beneath the site daily, and 1.2 million people visit the park on the site annually. The park features many hiking trails. U.S. Route 25E passed overland through the gap before the completion of the Cumberland Gap Tunnel in 1996. The original trail was then restored.